This is White Plains Week, the weekly news roundup. With your moderator, John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And Peter Katz, noted broadcaster and journalist. White Plains Week, what's happened, who are the newsmakers, and what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented Fridays at 7:30 and again on Mondays at 7 p.m. here on Channel 76. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, and all you spin masters out there. My head is just spinning around. This week isn't yours, Peter? And, of course, he's back. Jim's on. He's ready to go. His hair is flying in the wind. Jim Benerofe back.
From campaigning in Florida, right?
Absolutely. Judging the temperature of the votes down there and the various other things. And this, of course, is White Plains Week, the City News Roundup show. And right now, let's go to the Jim Benerofe with the headlines. It's been so long. Here he is.
And here are the headlines for the week of March the 4th. Westchester Medical Center to build $230 million ambulatory care unit. County will finance. Chappaqua Crossing finally breaks ground after 11 years. The Republican campaign continues. Trump reveals medical plan. Wendy Long will run against Senator Chuck Schumer. Legislators do not meet on Playland New Deal. They appear to waste a week, some 55 days to go to approve it. Soundview Manor is designated a historical landmark by the new White Plains Preservation Commission. Council of Neighborhood Associations will hold a Speak Out Tuesday, March the 8th, with Planning Commissioner present for ideas on how the city should be developed. Burger King comes to the Galleria and energizes the food court. Downtown Music will present the White Plains Centennial Concert Sunday at 5 p.m. Tickets are just $25, $20 for seniors, $15 for students. Zell Andrews, longtime activist for women's rights in White Plains, passes away.
I think we need to add that the tickets for that concert can be purchased at the door Sunday night. If you, you know.
Right.
And it's at Grace Church downtown.
Right, and really a great artist, which we hope to mention later. Jim, you're back, and you've spent some time out in one of the key states in the primaries.
So do you recognize White Plains?
Yes, I do.
And what do you hear in Florida? Is Florida going to
Florida
go for Trump, or they're going to go for their homebrewed guy, Rubio?
Well, personally, I think they should go for Rubio. I could ask Trump some environmental questions, and I don't think he would have the answers.
Well, he wants to eliminate the EPA, so we're not going to have to worry about the environment.
Yeah, it was interesting in the debate last night. He used eliminating the EPA as an example of how he was going to save $500 billion. Fox was prepared for that. They came up with a graphic which showed that even if he completely eliminated EPA, he would only be saving $8 billion, not even close to the $500 billion he claimed he could save.
Yeah, well, they're mixing apples and oranges there.
No, I don't think so. EPA is not apples or oranges. It's an environmental protection agency.
Well, I will say this. I read Trump's book,
The Art of the Deal, the first book, or
No,
he's written
I
a
read
number
The Art
of
of
them.
the Deal years ago. I don't remember The Art of the Deal, but I think about making America great again or whatever. And I don't think his chapter on the environment was very good. I don't think he has a very sophisticated knowledge of the environment. And I think that's really a weak point that could have very serious consequences. You can't eliminate the EPA. That's just nonsense.
But you were telling me there's a severe environmental problem right where you were.
Well, there's been too much rain, and Lake Okeechobee overflows, and they send the water down, and it's come down to Sanibel. And I mean, the water changed from blue to brown, and I mean brown. It was really ominous.
Well, Florida has had problems with its water table for years, where because of all the development, the water table has been going down, 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 and fresh drinking water supplies keep becoming more scarce. Supplies for irrigation become problematic. And,
Well, this is
and
not-
the irony, of course, is that Florida is a peninsula surrounded by water, most of which is not usable for the purposes that people need to use.
Well, there's a lot of things we should be doing. Instead of building oil pipelines, we should be building water pipelines, and we should be shipping excess water after it's filtered or whatever, or have a filtering system to places like California where they need it. And with the kind of storms that we have now, that would probably work very well.
And that's why Florida got so much rain this year, right? Much more rain than usual?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Well, in part, it all goes back to El Nino and the change in the flow of the jet streams.
Don't they call that El Rubio?
El Rubio.
Yes.
Trump calls Rubio a Nino. Yes.
God, I mean.
But did you see the debate last night? What a total embarrassment to have such a political circus going on for this country.
Yes, the Trump circus, the Trump five-ring circus.
I mean, for young people who have not experienced the true operation of this country at a sophisticated political level, as we used to have with Adlai Stevenson and John F. Kennedy, even Richard Nixon, Everett Dirksen, people who had a real intellectual understanding not only of issues and not only of answers, but of the way the political process was designed to work and can actually work when you do it properly. They're getting a complete misrepresentation of what the political process in this country is supposed to be like.
Children
Just
imitate
watching what's
adults.
going
Children
on.
imitate adults. And these debates have set back teaching good manners and respect for other views. I mean, even we do not talk over each other on the show and shout at each other.
Not much,
We're
anyway.
pretty passionate.
It's not the debates themselves, but rather the people who are participating in the debates.
I know,
that are the
and
problem.
we're very
And
sophisticated.
And
look
this
at us.
extends to the audience, too. If you listened last night, people in the audience were yelling
Hooting.
unintelligible things at the participants and at the questioners.
Right. And
Who I might add, even though they're Fox people, did a very good job.
And I like Chris Wallace's new hair, don't you? Great. Now, let's go to a couple of mundane matters, and we'll get right back into the Trump circus. Lead off slide, please. This is the big news of the week in White Plains. Burger King.
It's a whopper of a story,
Yes,
John.
it is. Burger King filled up the former McDonald's space after about a year,
This is at the Galleria Food Court.
And, the traffic was up. Now, this was just before 12 noon.
And
And
there weren't many people there,
but
but
at 12:30,
at lunchtime, there was a long
lines, man.
line.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what
Good business.
White Plains always needs, a good Whopper. Right? Exactly. So welcome to Burger King, and it's something the food court really needed. I say. And now, next, this just in, we got more snow this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and this is what you brought. This is all his fault.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
yeah.
As soon as I come home, we get the temperature drops, the snow goes on the ground.
Yes, but perhaps this may be the last one, and
Yeah,
hopefully.
we're talking about 60 degrees Monday and Tuesday of the coming week. Some people had said maybe 70 degrees. Amazing.
Right, and now let's go to the amazing.
All because, Jim, when you were away, John did see his shadow on Groundhog's Day. So.
That's the ground anchor day. We keep you grounded.
Anyway,
Yes. So
I saw a picture of Mr. Trump.
No, this is the Trump circus. This is just, he's been holding these rallies all over the country. But last night's debate, as you say, was, I think, significant. The fact that Trump is now trying to tone up and be above the fray and said,
No,
you
not
negotiate
at all.
things."
I mean, he was.
Well, he mixed it up with Rubio.
Well,
But,
with everyone else.
But I thought that...
And when Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace tried to calm him down and redirect him to answer the questions and not avoid the issues that were raised, he took off after them. He showed himself to be a bully, and he, in the audience, if you listened to the hooting and hollering, a lot of it happened in response to his reaction to being pressed by the Fox reporters. And I must say that the Fox reporters did a very, very good job.
And I thought he did a very good job of answering their questions. He pointed out. No, I really want to make this point. He made the point that he changed his positions, right, Jim? Because you have to you negotiate these things, and he is an excellent negotiator, and that was referring to why he has changed his thoughts. In fact, he's changed several positions, and I thought he handled that well.
Well, but
Megyn couldn't snap back
John,
at him.
he tried to convince people that he had not changed his positions. And what Fox had were video clips in which they put together what he had said, his denial of having said that, and then his changed position. They did that on 3 separate issues.
Yes,
and
he answered it
him,
by
and he had no
saying...
answer. Ultimately, you can't answer that because the truth comes out that you lie.
It isn't lying. It's changing your position as the campaign goes on, and he says that is a strength. I really want to emphasize that.
That's not what Fox showed, and let me emphasize again that this was Fox.
Well,
this
we
is
saw 2 different things because that's the way I saw it.
Well, but what was there was that this is Fox, a Republican-oriented, right-wing-oriented news organization, taking on a person who claims to be a strong right-wing conservative, at least for purposes of the primary, and showing that when he said that he didn't say something or said he did say something, that it wasn't the truth. He was not being truthful about it.
Well, I got to say one thing. If you have to change a position once in a while, I think that's okay. If he's changing his position on a lot of things, that's a real weakness. That means he's not analyzing
the point which I believe Fox was driving home in this case was not that he was changing positions, but that he was lying about what he did say.
Well, apparently that could be said of most people on that panel.
And I would say that there's well, that doesn't make it right or wrong, but I would say there's a difference, in saying, I've reconsidered this.
That's what he said.
I've gathered.
In answer,
that's
Peter.
That's what he tried to say.
Well, he did say it.
No, he tried to say that, but
We
But
are
what
splitting
Fox
hairs
showed,
here.
No, we're not.
Hey, let's have a debate.
No,
Let's
we're not.
imitate the
We're not,
Republican
John, because
debate.
what Fox showed was that he lied. He said something, then he
And
denied
he-
saying it.
and
And
he-
that's not changing your mind. That's not changing your position.
I-
That's lying about what you
Politicians
said.
lie for a living.
I got to tell you, there's a book that I recently read, and I think it's worth mentioning here. And it was written by Mary Carr, and it's entitled The Art of Memoir. It is probably
Very
one
good.
of the best books I have ever read, and she sort of, in parts of the book, goes into this kind of thing about what people said and when they said it and who said it and everything else. The book I thought was fascinating, and it's not a big thick book. It's short, and she's a professor, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm remembering this. I think it's Syracuse University, but in the English department.
You know, for many years I had a little line that I would use in cocktail party conversation, which seemed to resonate with people, which was that the art of being a good politician is remembering which lie you told to which person.
All right. Well, one more thing I want to say on this is that you could see that Trump is now softening some of his hard lines and really trying to position himself.
That's what he will have to do
To
for
say
the
that he
general
can
election.
negotiate, and he is the best to do that. And that's, I thought, what he came
This is
last
true.
night.
Well, this is true of all candidates. Once we're through the primary season, they're going to have to start thinking general election, and that means a shift toward the center. Because extremist views don't play terribly well
I couldn't have
with
said
the,
it
with
better
the
myself.
American electorate as a whole. On the other side, at the moment, we see Bernie Sanders being extreme left, admitting that he is a socialist. If by any chance he should get the Democratic nomination, it'll be very interesting to see how he plays in the general election.
Yeah.
Because Americans, I would say, do not want to elect a socialist president. This
Right.
country has never been known
Well,
as a socialist country.
Doesn't look like they will, because the way the Times treated the Super Tuesday. Can we have the first Times slide, please? There we go. Trump and Clinton feast as 12 states vote, and the Clinton onslaught against Sanders was handled very interestingly by the New York Times, saying that she pulled together a base that would set her up well for November. But on the other side, the emphasis was on the GOP disintegrating, which I thought was
Well,
interesting.
actually, some people in the GOP believe that it is disintegrating.
Well, that's where the
and-
quotes
and
were.
If you
Yeah.
noted just yesterday, Mitt Romney made what I would consider to be an unprecedented speech,
And
which actually got unprecedented coverage.
I know. I thought that was amazing. They played that up so big with not too much on the front page about the debate.
Now, some would say that his attack on Trump really is an effort to position himself to be drafted should there be a deadlocked Republican convention coming up.
Well, that should be the strategy for
others
them.
will say that that Romney blew it last time around, and the party would be making a terrible mistake to position him to be the standard bearer this time around.
Well,
No, what is it? Nixon lost an election and then ran again and won.
Well, we see that that does happen.
Romney
also
Romney
see,
is no Nixon, though.
We also see cases where they put up the same candidate in subsequent elections, and then the candidate loses both times.
Yes. Now, one thing that did come out, I was sorry to go with all the Trump coverage today, but this was interesting because Donald Trump revealed his medical plan, and here in a nutshell is what it would do. The Trump health plan would repeal Obamacare. He'd ask Congress to repeal it. He would allow sale of health insurance across state lines. No, the insurance companies don't want that.
No, they do want that across state
do?
lines, of course. And the
They
harsh,
do?
and
Why would
yes,
they want that?
Well, they would want that so that they can operate out of the state which has the least restrictions on insurance companies. Companies do not necessarily like states such as New York, where we have a pretty good insurance department and pretty tough regulation to keep insurance companies honest. So if you're an insurance company and you're allowed to sell across state lines, you're going to set yourself up in the easiest place to operate out of.
Yeah,
because
but you would have to operate in all the states. They'd have to adjust that law because that's.
That's
it'd
what,
be like Delaware.
That's what they would do,
But
where federal law trumps state law. So if this were set up, the federal law would control, and if the federal law says that if the federal law says any insurance company can sell from any state into any other state, then your own state regulations go out the window because they're trumped by the federal regulations.
Not only that, but you have competitive rates.
No pun intended, saying that the regulations are trumped.
But
by
that is a huge change.
It would be a huge change.
And it would be interesting how to be set up.
It's not the first time that's been suggested either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a typical right-wing, anti-Obamacare replacement message.
However,
this is what
moving on with the Trump plan for medical change, price transparency of health services. That would be nice. Block medical grants. Block medical grants could be given directly to the states.
That's right. Well, this is to do away with Medicare and Medicaid as we know it now. Well, they would block grant the money to
and the states would administer.
And the state would administer.
And probably decide what they would cover. And then he wants to reform prescription drug pricing practices and policies, and that is really needed. But that's what the plan is, and not too much analysis has been sunk into this.
As we have seen, an unregulated pharmaceutical industry does not cut its prices necessarily.
Not necessarily. Now,
in some cases, it raises them 5,000% on a life-saving drug.
Yes. Now, after all that, let's go to some good news. And that is the new ambulatory care center that was announced this week, by the Westchester Medical Center. It's going to be a $230 million ambulatory care facility built right next to the Westchester County Medical Center. Next slide, please. And that would be the view from the Springbrook Parkway, and the new ambulatory care center to be built on the right. The county is financing this through their Westchester County Local Development Corporation, and they and the entity that will have to pay that back is, of course, the Westchester County Medical Center. Now, if you recall, this place was in huge trouble years ago, I think during the Spano administration.
Well, they were having cash flow problems.
Yes, and we bailed them out then, and now we're financing them. So, and the reason they can do that is the legislation was just passed this week saying that it's a public benefit corporation, so therefore they can receive public money, which is a very interesting concept. This was very quietly done this week, according to press release, and we have to get a copy of that. Perhaps White Plains Citizen Reporter could be a public benefit corporation. What do you say, guys? What do you think? Do we serve any benefit here? I think we serve a big one.
You might get an argument from some people about that.
Right, they never passed that, right? Now, the other, some other things that happened this week.
Were they going to do something on bonds to pay for playland?
Oh, yes. Jim, this is you were not
bonds.
around. You were not around while this played out 2 weeks ago. And the shock of the week is that is the Budget and Acquisitions Committee meeting Monday morning.
This is the county legislature.
Yes, county budget, and they did not discuss plan. I thought they definitely take the opportunity to air thoughts on it. No, at least not publicly.
Yeah, well, we did find
They're
out
wasting
that
time.
the county has, on this deal, has agreed to pay something like $58 or $60 million.
That's the
to
agreement
redo
that they haven't
Playland.
agreed to yet.
Yeah.
They have to approve it.
And so they have to agree to it, then
Yeah.
they have to figure out how we're going to get float bonds or whatever we're going to have to do to come up with the money for this.
There are a couple of slides
But
showing the contract that you
they've
missed.
kicked the can down the road, and they have, what, a deadline of 57
60
days or
from
60 days to
March
go,
the
something
1st.
like that. Yeah.
From March the 1st. But I was shocked that they didn't discuss this matter,
That was
at
the
least
deal
in general.
that they came to with the Standard Amusements.
Yeah.
They're going to co-operate the park this summer, and then Standard Amusements would come in
And as I
take it
recall,
over.
this deal originally was going to pay our debt service on Playland. Now we're raising
Yeah.
it $58 million.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think they should just drop it.
I think they should too. Walk away.
And I think that the county should continue to run Playland.
Well, Donald Trump wanted to buy it at one time, didn't he?
That's a fallback position for him if he doesn't get the
Yeah.
nomination.
If he loses the presidency, maybe he'll come in and run Playland. There you go.
Right, and Children's Museum, if we could have that slide, that did not open in February as scheduled.
They said
Nothing
they were
seems to
gonna
be much
open,
happening.
right?
What's happening? Where's the money? Let's get that museum going. Right? Where is it? I mean, why aren't they doing something with that? And now, coming up, we have the sales tax problem. Jim, we're down, but big time in January, down 6%. And it's great to see Burger King coming back. That may help that. But, I mean...
Have to get your sales tax somewhere.
Yes, somewhere. And
Zell Andrews passed away. I believe that many people knew her. She was very active in White Plains in political circles for many, many years. Was a feminist who was known at national levels for some of the things she proposed. She was among the most outspoken when former Mayor Adam Bradley was on trial. Bradley, as you know, was ultimately exonerated of the charges against him, but that was after his career was in ruins. And she was, I believe, 78 years old
that's
when she
correct.
passed away.
Born in 1938. And so, once again, the persons that took another person who used to come out and care about the issues and has passed away, and we're looking for people to step up and start caring about White Plains again, and not their own neighborhoods. They have to care about where the city is going, how they want it to grow, and where we're going to get money to support our services, because it's disappearing with a sales tax, and you'll have an opportunity at the Council of Neighborhood Associations Tuesday evening at about 7:15 over at the Education House, and there will be an open forum in which everybody can give the planning commissioner their ideas on how to develop.
Christopher
the
Gomez,
city.
he's the,
Yes.
the relatively new planning commissioner, and he's supposed to be there to listen and learn and mingle and maybe help people understand what the administration is thinking. But you do that, John, on WVOX
Right.
every Tuesday, right?
That's right. Bob Marone is a new host, and he is bringing you back at 7:50 in the morning. So
WVOX is 1460 on your AM dial. You remember AM radio?
yes, fondly.
Hey, how about that?
Right. John Bailey, welcome back, Jim Benerofe. Always
Always
And-
fun, John.
a chilly welcome to you, and good night for White Plains Week.
White Plains Week has been a presentation of White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com, in cooperation with Channel 76. Comments may be emailed to WPCNR@AOL.com. The copyrighted print White Plains Cityscape by Leonard Weber is used courtesy of the White Plains Presbyterian Church. For information on its availability, you may contact the church at 761-8585. The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented Fridays at 7:30 and again on Mondays at 7 p.m. here on Channel 76. For White Plains Week, this is Seth Benerofe speaking.